Why your first car will haunt you forever. There's something profoundly unsettling about how a hunk of metal, plastic, and rubber can embed itself so deeply into your psyche that decades later, you'll find yourself scrolling through online classifieds, searching for that exact make and model you once owned. Your first car doesn't just transport you from point A to point B, it transports you through one of life's most transformative periods, becoming an unwitting archive of your emerging identity. Long after it's been sold, scrapped, or abandoned in some distant parking lot, your first car continues to haunt you in ways both subtle and profound. The ghost of independence, your first car, represents the moment you stopped being a passenger in your own life. Before that key touched your palm, your world was defined by the schedules, destinations, and whims of others. Parents decided where you went and when. Public transportation dictated your routes and timing. Friends with cars held the power to include or exclude you from adventures. But with your first car came something revolutionary, the ability to disappear. This newfound autonomy is intoxicating in a way that's difficult to recapture. Every subsequent car purchase is a transaction, a practical decision weighed against monthly payments, insurance costs, and fuel efficiency. But your first car wasn't bought, it was liberated. Whether it was a hand-me-down from a relative, purchased with months of saved allowance money, or acquired through some elaborate teenage negotiation, it represented pure freedom distilled into physical form. The ghost of this independence haunts you because modern life gradually erodes that sense of limitless possibility. Adult responsibilities create invisible tethers that your teenage self couldn't have imagined. Your first car reminds you of a time when a full tank of gas represented infinite potential, when you could drive toward the horizon simply because it was there. Every car you've owned since has been a tool. Your first car was a tool. The archive of becoming between the ages of 16 and 25, you undergo more psychological transformation than during any other period of your adult life. You're simultaneously trying on different versions of yourself while desperately searching for the real you underneath. Your first car becomes the unwitting witness to this identity formation, absorbing the emotional residue of your most formative experiences. The driver's seat holds the imprint of countless late-night conversations with friends, where you solve the world's problems between the dashboard glow and the static of the radio. The passenger seat remembers your first serious relationship, the nervous energy of new romance mixing with the scent of cheap cologne and fast food. The back seat carries the ghost of your high school friend group, when relationships were uncomplicated and the biggest decision was which drive-through to hit after the movie. Your first car's interior becomes a time capsule of your musical evolution. The radio presets tell the story of your taste developing beyond whatever your parents played during family road trips. The CD collection, wedged into door pockets, traces your journey from mainstream hits to more adventurous musical territories. Years later, hearing a song that was permanently programmed into that car's stereo system can trigger such vivid sense memories that you can almost feel the torn upholstery beneath your fingers. The mythology of imperfection here is what makes the haunting particularly acute. Your first car was almost certainly terrible. It had quirks that would be deal breakers in any other vehicle. The air conditioning only worked when you hit a specific pothole. The radio picked up AM stations from 3 states away, but couldn't tune into the local rock station. The passenger door handle required a precise combination of lifting and pulling that you had to teach every new passenger. But these imperfections weren't flaws. They were personality traits. You developed an intimate relationship with your car's idiosyncrasies, learning its moods and preferences like those of a beloved but temperamental friend. You knew exactly how to coax it to life on cold mornings, which gear would stick in humid weather, and the precise angle needed to get the driver's seat to adjust. This mechanical intimacy is largely absent from modern car ownership. Contemporary vehicles are reliable, predictable, and largely interchangeable. They don't require the constant negotiation and adaptation that characterized your relationship with your first car. The mythology of imperfection haunts you because it represents a time when you had to work for things that now come easily, when simple transportation required patience, creativity, and a willingness to accept limitations. The economics of dreams your first car exists in a unique economic reality that you'll never experience again. Its value wasn't measured in dollars but in possibilities. You might have paid $800 for a car that needed $1, $200 in repairs, but those numbers were abstractions compared to the freedom it represented. Every dollar spent on that car felt like an investment in your independence rather than a financial burden. The economic relationship with your first car was also refreshingly simple. You didn't worry about depreciation curves or warranty coverage. Maintenance was either something you could fix with basic tools in your driveway or something that would have to wait until your next paycheck. This straightforward relationship between need and resources created a kind of clarity that's difficult to recapture in later life, when car payments, insurance premiums, and depreciation schedules turn transportation into a complex financial instrument. The social architecture of memory your first car didn't just transport your body, it transported your social life. It determined who you could see, where you could go, and how late you could stay. The geography of your teenage and early adult relationships was defined by your car's reliability and your gas budget. Weekend plans revolved around who had a car, whose parents were out of town, and how far you could drive on $5 of gas. The car became a mobile social hub, a private space in a world where privacy was rare. It was where you had conversations that couldn't happen at home, where relationships deepened beyond the superficial interactions possible in school hallways. The enclosed space created an intimacy that made people more honest, more vulnerable, more real than they were in other contexts. The phantom limb of automotive memory, the haunting of your first car, operates like a phantom limb. You feel its presence long after it's gone. You find yourself unconsciously reaching for gear shifters that are no longer there, or expecting the particular sound of its engine when you turn the key. Decades later, you'll hear that specific combination of engine noise and exhaust note on the street and turn your head automatically, hoping for a glimpse of your automotive past. This phantom presence is strengthened by the fact that your first car was often your last truly personal space. It was the bridge between childhood dependence and adult responsibility, a mobile bedroom where you could be completely yourself. Losing it, whether through mechanical failure, an accident, or the simple progression of life, represents the end of a particular kind of freedom that you'll spend the rest of your life trying to recapture. The eternal return, perhaps your first car, haunts you forever because it represents the last time acquisition felt truly magical. Every car you've bought since has been a rational decision, weighed against practical considerations and future needs. But your first car existed outside the realm of practicality. It was pure want transformed into reality, desire made manifest in chrome and steel. The haunting ensures that somewhere in your heart, you're still that teenager with keys in hand, engine running, radio up, future unlimited. Your first car doesn't just live in your memory. It lives in your dreams, your fantasies, your midnight scrolling through classic car websites. It reminds you that once upon a time, happiness could be bought for the price of a used car and a tank of gas. In the end, your first car haunts you because it knew you were becoming alive. It was there for the transformation, and it carries the ghost of all your possible selves. The roads you took and the ones you didn't, the person you were and the person you might have been. That's a powerful haunting, and one that no amount of horsepower or luxury features can ever quite exorcise.